Everyone, it's Jai452 here again inside the land of cosplay, rummaging through what we can find, and hopefully this week on Inside Cosplay, my special guest will give us some helpful tips. My special guest this week is none other than Jack. Hi Jack.
Hello.
How are you today?
Quite tired. I've been studying mostly, so not a very fun day.
Well, it's a Monday, so, or at least it was when we were filming this. Actually, no, it's not. It's Tuesday. I'm a day behind and $1 short. So we're just going to jump right in there, and I'm going to ask you, when did you first start cosplaying?
Probably 2014. It was when I first cosplayed at MCM Glasgow, 2014.
Do you remember what your first cosplay was?
Sun Wukong from Ruby, Season 1.
Nice. And roughly how long did it take you to put together that costume? What was like the creative process behind the very first one?
It was very last minute, more of just a white school t-shirt, and because I wasn't very body crafted back then, I just wore a white PE t-shirt underneath, having the open shirt, and then just some jeans rolled up and some bandages underneath my knees, basically.
How happy were you with that cosplay?
It was basically half-assed, so it wasn't that good. So certainly gotten better.
Is that a cosplay that you have either redone or would like to redo?
Would like to redo certainly in the future.
Okay. What particular aspects of it would you do differently?
Probably just get better like clothing and like get more like props associated with it and like do better armour for it effectively.
Awesome. So who or what inspired you to cosplay?
Just the idea of cosplaying is pretty fun, and a lot of my friends do it as well, so it's always a fun time to do it with them.
Awesome. Has there been any particular person, like, say, Jessica Negri or Chris Villain, or anybody from, like, a kind of high pedestal when it comes to cosplaying that inspires you to do so, or...
Meg Turney, I'd probably say she's an incredibly talented cosplayer.
Do you know if she still cosplays to this day?
I think she does, yes. She recently did a shoot with Jessica Negri, I believe.
Awesome. Have you ever met any of your cosplay, like, idols?
Not at the moment, no.
No. Is there anybody that is an idol for you when it comes to cosplaying? I know you mentioned one person there, but is there anybody else?
A few of my friends are really good cosplayers, but nobody like incredibly high up there like doing it for like as a job at this moment in time.
So to date, what has been the most challenging cosplay that you've ever done, both from the making of a costume and the acting side, so acting as the character? So let's talk about the acting side first. So who, from an acting point of view, has been the most challenging cosplay that you've ever done so far?
Probably my last cosplay, which was W.D. Gaster, but the Royal Scientist version of him from Undertale.
Okay. Maybe take us through why he was so challenging for you?
So there's so little information about him within the game of Undertale, so you have to kind of make a lot of it up as you go along, effectively.
Okay. And on the flip side to that, on the acting side, what has been like the least challenging character for you?
Probably King Ryan from Achievement Hunter. Mad King Ryan from Achievement Hunter, to be precise.
Is he very close to your own personality, like when you're not cosplaying?
As close to a point as I'd say, apart from the fact that I don't kill animals on a daily basis or put them in holes.
Well, you know.
We all have our hobbies.
We all have our hobbies, like you said, we all have our hobbies. Okay, so what has been the most challenging cosplay that you've ever done from the creating of the costume side?
I've not done much costume creating, but probably the hardest one was the WD Gas one for getting the stuff for it, just because it wasn't like an official like cosplay from it. It was like based on somebody's fan art, so I had to really scour online to try and get this prop, like all this stuff for it, basically.
Okay. And the least challenging so far?
Probably the Mad King Ryan one, just because I already had a kill at the time of doing it, and I just needed like a shirt and a blazer, which I already also had.
Awesome. So my next question for you is, in your opinion, what is the most difficult thing or character to cosplay as in regards to both yourself and what you would advise other people, like, to just kind of, other people who are just starting out, not to kind of go in that direction right away, you know, like build up your confidence kind of thing.
What do you mean, like, sorry?
Well, obviously, in regards to yourself, what do you find the most challenging character? What character or thing do you find most challenging to cosplay as? Like, it's really, really difficult, and it would be something that you might shy away from. And in regards to other people, what would you tell them? Right, you're just starting out, so don't run at something like
Probably
something like Master Chief or something like that.
Yeah, that
It's
was
really
really
armored.
that.
You know?
Like, yeah, the armor stuff would probably be something I'd shy away from. Say, try and like wait till you've got more experience in building armor before going into like big armored cosplays like the Halo universe. I can't remember the name of that game that's got all the big shoulder elements, all those sort of like armored like cosplays and stuff like that.
In regards to other people, would you recommend that they stay away from the likes of big armoured cosplays or even mech suits? Because there's been a couple of mech suits at Comic Con.
Unless you have incredibly good like building experience, it may be very hard to start off to go into that.
Okay. Now, we mentioned... Oh, right, sorry. Yeah. In your opinion, what is the best and the worst things that a new cosplayer can do when they're getting ready to go to a cosplay event? So let's start with 3 of the best things that somebody can do when they're getting ready to go to a Comic-Con event or a cosplay event in general.
Have friends to go with you. It's always good if you go with friends. Make sure you take a lot of water with you because certain cosplays can get really warm in. And make sure you're eating enough because you may be going about the conventional day and may forget to eat, which probably isn't very good for you.
No. And 3 of the worst things that they could do?
Forget their money because you always need to like have money on you. Losing stuff, but always take a bag. And forgetting a bag because even if it doesn't go with the cosplay bag's an incredibly useful thing to have on you.
Definitely. So, speaking of Comic-Con there are 2 types of Comic-Cons that we can go to throughout the year here in the UK, as over there in America and other places in the world as well. There's your big once-a-year ones, and your smaller, more local ones that happen, like, say, every month or 2 months. Out of the 2, which do you prefer going to? Do you like the big once-a-year ones or the smaller, more local ones?
The smaller ones, probably.
Okay.
Because you can get more time to like, do stuff in cosplay. And like a lot of the cosplay showcases at them are a lot more fun because it's a lot less people.
So do you like the smaller ones because you're getting the opportunity to do a lot more than what you would at a bigger one?
Yeah.
Right. When you're doing these cosplay events, whether they be big or small, what is the one thing that you're most excited about? And also, what was one thing, or is still one thing, that you find most nerve-wracking? So let's talk about what you're most excited about when you're going to these events.
Probably seeing all the cosplays that people brought with them or will be wearing to the convention. It's probably an incredibly exciting thing.
Okay. And I suppose when it comes to an event like that, will you be excited to show off a new cosplay when you have one, or is that something that falls under the most nerve-wracking category?
It also falls under nerve-wracking as well. Yeah.
Okay. So obviously showing off a new cosplay can be very nerve-wracking, but is there any other aspect of going to these events that used to be or still kind of is on some level quite nerve-wracking for you?
The photography at it, because I do a lot of photography now as well. It's just trying to get all the photos edited after when you've got like 400 raw files to go through. It can be pretty nerve-wracking.
I'm guessing from the photography side of things, do you have formal training in the photography?
No, but I have a decent sized portfolio.
Right. So I'm guessing when you're taking photographs or having photographs taken of yourself, you're constantly thinking, right, I need to pose this way.
Yeah.
So that the light is correct and...
Yeah, I understand all that sort of stuff.
and then especially like it must be really annoying, like if because obviously you have that photography training, you're also kind of like looking at what the photographer is doing, and then
Yeah, I do that a lot.
if they say to you, right, pose this way, you're like, no, I shouldn't pose this way. It must be really frustrating.
Yeah.
So when you've been going to these events, have you ever entered into the cosplay competition or masquerade?
I've entered into one masquerade, and that was at CosCon.
Okay. Do you remember what cosplay you were doing at that point?
Mad King Ryan.
Okay. Did you win by chance?
No, I didn't win, but it was very fun.
Okay. Is that something that you would look to do again and again?
Hopefully, yeah, just need to try and get to more conventions.
Awesome. And I know that pain.
Yeah.
So when you're, like, have you ever done any performances when you've been doing these competitions? Did you do a performance as the Mad King, for instance?
No, but I just got an interview from like the runner of it, and we just like acted as the Mad King would act effectively.
Awesome. And how nerve-wracking was that? Was it scary?
Slightly.
Was it slightly?
Because I'm not good in front of audiences.
Ah, okay. Is that something that you hope to improve upon?
Yeah.
Awesome. So tell me 3 of the funniest things that have ever happened to you when you've been at a Comic-Con.
Probably when I was doing that Mad King Ryan, there's a photo of me on stage with the announcer who's also wearing a kilt, pulling our kilts quite far up our thighs. There's a very good photo of that, with just the 2 of us pulling our kilts up our thighs. That's pretty fun. I'm trying to think of other things, because I've not been to conventions in ages, that's the hard thing. ECC, when we were shouting at my friend who's on the Cosplay Masquerade, just heckling them effectively whilst he was doing the Cosplay Masquerade was pretty funny. And I'm not sure what else. I haven't been to a convention for a very long time, sorry.
Oh, so that's fine. Okay, so when it comes to, well, obviously funny things, it depends obviously on the costume that you're wearing. But what do you feel is a good reaction to a cosplay? Like,
Somebody understanding where it's from is very good.
well, that's always a bonus, you know, if somebody comes up to you and says, oh, you're such another person from that thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an interaction with, say, somebody who might have been a little bit young for the cosplay in general, or at least the character, but they instantly knew who you were?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
Well,
Go on.
a lot of the people who like knew the Mad King Ryan cosplay were older people, just because it's like Achievement Hunter, who their humour is pretty like a teenage onwards, and it's very immature content for younger kids, so a lot of them won't get that cosplay.
Have you ever done any cosplay that is geared to a younger audience?
Not that I can remember. Most of my cosplays have been from like Undertale, Ruby, and Achievement Hunter.
Okay. So when it comes to picking a cosplay that you really want to do, what is your thought process? You know, like, how do you select a cosplay to do?
Do I like the character? Do I like their style effectively? Style probably would come first, because a lot of the cosplays I go for is based on the style of the character.
Okay. Is there a particular type of character that you're more drawn to than any other type?
Sort of like chaotic good characters, just because I like their attitude.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask you this next question, and it's more of a category type question.
Yeah.
So when I first started cosplaying, or I had the idea to cosplay inside my head, I just started like researching like crazy.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I was getting for cosplay was coming from America. And you had like various age groups. Like mums and dads and children, But it just seemed kind of like they were dressed up, a picture got taken in their home, and they were off to a fancy dress party. And then when I got a little bit further into it, I noticed a very common kind of like run through of age. It seemed to be like early teens to mid 30s. And I thought that must be like the age bracket that you're working with when it comes to Comic-Con. And I was so surprised when I went to Comic-Con to see a very wide range of all different age groups. When you first started out, was there a similar thought process in your head? Did you think, oh, it's going to be this age bracket to this age bracket? Or did
slightly. I thought it was going to be like sort of your age bracket as well, from like pre-teens all the way up to 30s, but I realised when I went to my first convention it was a lot more wide than that.
What kind of reaction did you kind of like have when you first saw that?
It was very insane seeing the number of people that were queued up for the convention.
How about the different types of age groups within cosplay? Like, have you ever seen any like really like older generation cosplaying compared to a younger generation?
I've seen more younger generation cosplaying compared to older generation cosplaying, to be fair.
Okay. Because I remember at a cosplay event that I was at recently in Glasgow, I was between, for the masquerade, I was between a family group doing the Ministry of Magic, and behind me was a guy doing the Predator. So I'm like, yep. Which it was kind of cool to see the family group, because I think they talked their granddad into doing it.
Yeah.
If not granddad, I am so sorry. You know, if you're watching this interview, and you know, whatever, so sorry if not granddad. But it was really, really cool to see the different age groups there. Have you ever done any kind of cosplays as part of a group?
The Ruby one was sort of as a group, and plan to do more Ruby cosplays in the future as a group, though, hopefully.
Awesome. Do you think that will appeal to a younger generation?
Yeah, if they've got a large group of friends and they all enjoy one thing, it's good to like cosplay in a group of friends.
Awesome. Do you think that people should stop cosplaying at a specific age, or do you think that's something that should keep going, kind of thing?
People should cosplay as long as they want to.
Awesome. So, when it comes to doing a photo shoot, and somebody asks you to be the photographer for that shoot, what is one thing that you always look for in a really good cosplay?
Probably just good like materials, like stuff that won't like have stuff that will like take the light very well in the photos, so it's not like reflecting it too much. The highlights won't be blown and stuff like that. Okay. So material that takes the light well and looks good when taking photographs.
Okay. Okay, so let's give you a little scenario here. Let's say I say to you, okay, I want to do a photo shoot with you, and it will be a cosplay one. And I decide that I'm going to cosplay as the Flash. How would you set up a good shoot?
I'd probably just do your shoot for that using a flashlight, or like a flash, like my Wii Studio flash, and then two lights to get good lighting on. Then I'd do some editing on it, so like probably like I would have you like running towards the camera effectively, but then like take that rotoscope around it and then just decrease the opacity, but put it behind you multiple times, so it looks like you're running, basically.
Awesome. And let's say instead of the Flash, now we go for a character that's more stationary, like let me think, Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon. How would you photograph somebody who's cosplaying as Hiccup?
Probably do it in like an outdoors environment. If I had the ability, I'd probably go to like a hillier environment, just so it's very outdoors, so you get that good sense of feeling for the cosplay. It's in its natural environment. I probably just get like I'll look up references online of how the dragon acts in the movies and get them to like replicate those like actions effectively and take photos of that.
Awesome. When you're actually working with various people who are cosplaying and you're taking the photographs, do you pose them in any particular way?
I'd pose them how their character would act in that situation, if you kind of get what I mean.
Have you ever worked with any particular cosplay models that were very difficult to get into a specific pose, or
Not really, no.
did they have like overwhelming kind of demands and say, oh no, I want to pose like this, when you've suggested a pose before?
No, people are very good to work with, that I work with.
Awesome. How many people have you worked with when it comes to photography
Just
posing?
there's a few people, a lot of friends mostly. I did a friend shoot from, I can't actually remember the name of the show, Matsu-san I think it is, from them for MCM Glasgow last year. I did that shoot for them. I've done like shoots with a group of friends, like we've been doing a big shoot in a group. I've just brought my camera along as well and helped out basically and that sort of stuff.
Awesome. So normally this is one of the questions that I ask quite close to the end of the interview, but I'm going to ask you it just now. What opportunities has cosplay opened up for you away from being like a cosplayer?
Photography-wise, it's helped me like build my portfolio and get known as a photographer more at events and stuff like that. It's been very helpful and helped me build my photography page on Facebook.
Awesome. Is there any particular cosplay photograph that you're really proud of? You know, like, I know that's maybe a little bit of a twisted interest there, but is there anyone that you feel stands out above?
Probably the one I got with my friend from the old Matsu-san shoot. Just as a photo from that where they're just like looking up to the sky and it suits their character so well.
Awesome. Is there any particular photograph that you've taken that you weren't too happy with, that you felt that it could have been done better?
There's a few photographs that before I learned how a lot of like post-processing, like how to like edit raw photos, it just came out very dark. I should have probably looked into and lifted the exposure slightly or edited the raw photos better.
So when it comes to cosplaying, so we'll get back into the cosplaying. When it comes to cosplaying, what is one thing that you're always kind of like conscious of when it comes to cosplay costumes?
Not really sure. Just probably how I look to other people and how accurate it is to represent the character, probably.
Okay. If you had any advice in that front, like say somebody was a little bit concerned about whether or not their cosplay was good enough, what would you say to them?
You don't need to worry about it because everybody there is going to have a good time and you will love your costume anyways.
Awesome. So, props, the ever so much fun props. Props fall into two categories for me. So you've got your props that you can take to a Comic-Con and your props that you can take to a photo shoot only.
Yeah.
And then the three subcategories for that are, oh my god, this prop is large and it's breaking my back, and somehow I need to figure out how to get it out of my house. The second one being, oh, this prop is medium sized, I can easily get it out of the house, but if I'm carrying it around for 7 hours plus, it's eventually going to be a little bit of an issue.
Yeah.
And then lastly is, oh, this prop is so nice and small, I can pop it in my pocket and I'm good to go. Or my bag or whatever, and I'm good to go. Which out of three props are you, obviously depending on what cosplay it is you're doing, but which out of those three kind of size of props are you more inclined to take with you to a Comic-Con event?
Probably the smallest size just because it's easier on my back.
Awesome. And when it comes to a photo shoot?
Probably medium-sized stuff just so it looks more accurate effectively.
Okay. So you wouldn't bother with the, oh my god, it's so big and it's breaking my back ones? Okay. Well, still on the subject of props, do you make your own props?
I haven't had to make my own props, only cos I've done with props is my Mad King Bride, and I just borrowed my sister's diamond Minecraft sword for that.
Okay. Is it something that you would like to try and do at one point?
Yeah. because I'm relatively good at woodworking. So like if I could like get access like a woodworking like workshop, I'd be able to make some decent props.
Okay, so that kind of slightly answers the next question that I was going to ask you, which is, would you make them from scratch, or would you buy them in and customize them, or buy them in kind of ready-made?
Depends on what kind of prop it is, and if I could make it by myself, or if I could like buy it in like partially made, then just like do the rest by myself.
What is one thing that you think you could make from scratch?
Probably like a simple weapon, like a pistol or something like that.
Okay.
Just like I'd probably do a thing where like you get a bit of paper with it on it, and then you just align like bits of wood around it, and then you glue them together. Then you just use sanding to curve it slightly, and eventually you can't see the glued lines anymore. Then you just keep shaping it from that.
Awesome. Is there any particular prop that you feel you would need to buy in and customize?
Probably just larger weapon props, like larger stuff, like for Grey, for Fairy Tail, probably the ice cannon. I probably wouldn't be able to make that.
And is there any particular prop at all that you would just say, right, no, I'm going to have to find it online and just buy it ready-made?
Not sure, actually. It's not been many cosplays I've done like that, so probably not.
Okay, awesome. It's good that you've gotten to that kind of point of prop making where you can be like, nah, I can make a prop here, or at the very least customize one.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with buying in ready-made props, guys. Sometimes it's quicker and whatnot, but you should always strive for the I'm able to make this kind of phase. So what else can you tell us when it comes to props and photographing them? Is there anything in particular that you look for in a prop? Like, is that a similar scenario as to the costume as well, or
just really if it goes well with the costume and the character, and if it like suits the photograph, like if it suits how their character's supposed to act, then it goes helps the photographs a lot.
Okay. Has there ever been a prop brought along to a photo shoot that you're doing that just didn't go with the character?
No, not that I can remember actually. All the props I've like dealt with and people cosplaying has actually gone very well.
Awesome. Have you ever, when you've been at Comic-Con, seen somebody with a prop that just didn't go with their costume?
No, not really actually. But all the cosplays I've actually seen have gone very well with the props they're using.
Awesome. What advice would you give anyone when it comes to prop and costume making?
Well, for props, I'd say consider the size of the prop and the size of you and the weight of the prop, and if you're able to carry it about all day, and how bad it would be on your back if you were to carry it about all day. And costume, the cost of materials, cost to make, time to make, and then how much you're going to need to spend on all of that is something to consider.
When it comes to the prop and costume, would you say to them when they're in the process of making either costume or prop, just make sure that it goes, like one goes with the other kind of thing?
Yeah, make sure you have like lots of references and stuff. References always help, like reference photographs of the character and their props and stuff like that. And then you like orthographic views you can get like the prop are incredibly useful.
Awesome. So, because we've actually just raced through half of these questions here, I'm going to throw a few quick fire ones to you. What has been the funniest thing that has happened to you while at a photo shoot? And this can either be you taking the photographs or you having photographs taken.
Probably MCM Glasgow 2015, I think it was. I was at a Fairy Tail shoot and I was a Grey cosplayer and I threw off my shirt and it prompted all the other Greys to throw off their shirts. It's pretty funny.
Was it a kind of Mexican wave situation?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Have you ever had any interactions with anybody at a con or an event that you've been to where they've just come up to you and said, like they've spoken to you as the character and said, oh, like seeing your character, well, seeing you go through situation X made me feel so much more in touch with that character and I want to thank you for that kind of thing?
I've never actually had that happen.
Okay. Have you had any like crazy fans of the character just come up to you and like literally
No, but at Coscom when I was doing Mad King Ryan, like when the guys working the stalls saw me and he was like, "Wait, you're Mad King Ryan?" Because I was holding the sword on my shoulder. He realised because when he saw the sword and the kilt, he basically put it together, basically.
Awesome. Do you think you would be able to handle a situation where like somebody just kind of come up to you and is like, you're so and so and blah blah
Wait,
blah?
I did actually have that situation happen once, but it was a long time ago. It was at MCM Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
It was when I was cosplaying Grey for the first time. Me and my friends were just sitting down, and like these girls came up and said, are you Grey?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Could you do the ice make pose?" So they got a photo of me doing that, and I never saw them again.
Okay, that's definitely something.
Yeah, definitely it was. It really was.
Have you ever had any negative kind of interactions with people?
No, I don't. Not that I can remember, actually, thankfully.
Good. I remember actually a really funny interaction that I had when I did a gender bent Poison Ivy. It was at Glasgow Film and Comic Con. I remember Sean Astin was there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people love Sean Astin for his work on The Goonies and for when he played Sam in Lord of the Rings, which is why I went actually up to speak to him. You know, it was like the end of the day and I'm like, okay, before I go get dressed into clothing, I'm going to go and talk to Sean Astin. So I went up to hand him over the iGame business card and just kind of say to him, "Hey, we really love you as Samwise and awesome work. You know, we do a tabletop session on iGame which is Lord of the Rings based, you know, and all the people that I play it with just love you as Sam." So I go up to him and the guy, like the security guy, says, "No, I'm sorry, he's done for the day, you're going to need to come back tomorrow." And I'm like, "I'm only here for today." And he's like, "No, I'm sorry, he's done for today." And I'm like, "Look, I'm tired, I've been here since 9 o'clock, I'm pretty sure he's tired and just wants to go eat something. All I want to do is just like pass him this card."
Yeah.
And Sean obviously hears the interaction between me and this guy. And he kind of like waves me over and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go over then. So I walk over to him and he's like signing autographs for the next day kind of thing. And he says to me, "So what's your story?" Sign. And I look down at myself and look back at him and said, "Well, I'm what happens when Poison Ivy has a one-night stand."
Nice.
And it made him laugh. And I said, "Look, I honestly understand that you're tired and probably want to go. I just want to give you this card. Here's the card. We do a tabletop session. Check it out if you want. No big deal," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as I'm saying that, you know, and giving him the card, he pulls over this photograph of him as Sam. And he signs it and passes it to me. So I like fumble about trying to get my wallet and I'm like, you know, to pay him. Yeah. He's like, no, just here, have it. And thank you for coming out. And I'm like,
it was really nice.
Jammy bugger me. So, have you ever had an interaction with that, like with a TV or movie personality?
Not really. I don't tend to like line up to see them at conventions.
Has there,
don't get a chance.
Has there been anyone that you would want to go and see that have been at the conventions? And it doesn't necessarily need to be like a TV or movie personality. It could be a comic
conventions
book.
I haven't been at, like MCM London, Jeff Ramsey was there from Achievement Hunter. I'd have loved to see him.
Awesome. Is there anyone going to an upcoming event that you'd like to go and see?
Not sure. There's a lot of conventions I will not be able to go to at the moment due to work and stuff like that, but hopefully I'd be able to like go to RTX at some point and see a lot of people from Rooster Teeth.
Awesome. Okay, so while we're on the subject of that, like upcoming events, what are going to be your next 3 cosplays? So one that will be at your next event, one that you're in the process of making that we might see later on in the year, and one that you're thinking about that might happen by the end of the year. So let's start with who you're going to be at your next event. Who will you be at your next event, Jack?
Probably WD Gasser from Undertale.
Awesome. And somebody that you're working on currently, or are in the beginning stages of working on?
Probably Reese from Tales of the Borderlands.
Okay. And somebody that you're thinking about that we might see by the end of the year?
Probably Winter Soldier.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised you haven't done Winter Soldier already, because I think I remember looking at one of your pictures on social media and said, this guy would make a good Winter Soldier.
A lot of people have said that.
Okay, well, in that case then, my next and last question before the Passover is, what advice would you give anybody who is looking to start cosplaying but just doesn't know where to start?
Just have a look online, look for references, and start looking for stuff you can buy that will get you looking like the character, basically. The sooner you do that, the sooner it will start coming together.
Awesome. Now, just before we do Passover and...
Yeah.
So, just before we do the Passover, guys, I want you to give us a big thumbs up today, and I want to thank Jack for taking the time out and spending it with us. If, however, you can't get enough of the cosplay interviews, please do subscribe to my channel, where there are much more cosplay interviews and various other things happening, like gaming videos, as well as interviews with TV personalities at some point in the coming year. But if you cannot, for some strange reason, I don't know why they would end up wanting more of me, Jack, but some people do, who knows.
Yeah.
You can catch up with me on the iGame website, which is free to join. We do have a Facebook page and a YouTube page, so do go and check them out. On iGame Online, you can catch up with myself and Whisper Greentop, Sally, Dark Lee, Honey Jade, and Georgia Kitty on our weekly podcast, where we get together and talk about some random stuff, like random stuff from our week, as well as gaming news, Comic-Con news, and various other things. But if hearing people talk about their random week is not your thing, you can join myself again on the TV Job alongside BVS, where we talk about movies and television shows like Arrow, Two Broke Girls, not Lord of the Rings, sorry, Game of Thrones, and a whole host of other shows. But again, if that's not your thing, do check out the tabletop sessions. We do have 2 running at the moment. We have our MERP, which is our Lord of the Rings role-playing session, where you can catch up with Dylan Trask, Sabi, Estelle, Theo, Malwyn, Nostriel, and Olwe. But if Lord of the Rings isn't your kind of thing and you still want a little bit more of tabletop, you can check out our session which we do on a Tuesday, which is our Dragonland session, which is live on the iGame Twitch channel. So do go check that out. Equally though, if you do not like any of that, you can check out more cosplayers at Any UK on our website, where you can catch up with Kobe Kicks, Little Rascal, and Alpha Betty, and see what costumes they're making, what events they're going to, and what they're up to as well. But in the meantime, don't forget to, I think, leave a comment. Jack, do you see the comment section just down there? Don't forget to leave a comment for myself or Jack, and we will do whatever we can to get back to you in the meantime. But if you don't want to leave a comment down in the section below, Jack is going to very kindly give us some links where we can get a hold of him if we have any further questions. So Jack, where can we get hold of you if you've got any further questions?
Either at my photography page on Facebook, Jack Donnelly Photography, or my Twitter at Jai452
Awesome. Now don't worry if you missed those links, guys, they will be in the description of this video, so please do go along and check them out. Tell Jack that I sent you and support him as much as you can. And since that has happened, we've come to the end of the interview. I've been Jai452, Jack has been Jack, this has been Inside Cosplay, and we will see you again really soon. Bye guys.
See you.